Space is hostile. It's very hostile to man. Blood boils at 65,000 feet. The Project Excelsior was the first time anybody was outside of a spacecraft in a space environment. I'm Joe Kittinger. I spent 29 years in the United States Air Force. Half my career was spent in research and development, working as a test pilot. The other half was a fighter pilot. I was a project officer on Project Excelsior. The two objectives of Project Excelsior was, first, how to protect a man in a space environment, and second of all, how to provide the means of escape from very high altitude. When a person ejects extreme high altitude, he is liable to spin. And the higher you eject, the more spinning you could do. Unfortunately, we didn't have aircraft that would go that high. The only thing that could get up that high was a balloon vehicle. The takeoff was in the morning at about 6 o'clock. The climb time from takeoff to 102,000 feet was about an hour and a half. And at 40,000 feet, which is where my pressure suit inflates, and I suddenly discovered that a pressure suit glove in my right hand was not working. I knew that if I told the people on the ground that it wasn't working, that they'd make me abort the flight. So I opted not to tell the people on the ground that I had this problem. I could not use my right hand during the flight. Everything I had to use my left hand. It swelled up about twice its normal size. Well, the sign on the bottom of the gondola was, "This is the highest step in space." Think about being at 102,000 feet. It was a very interesting experience for me to sit there and look at the horizon, and I could see over 400 miles from that altitude. My guy on the ground said, "Okay, we're over the position, you're cleared to jump." And I jumped. I fell for, it seemed like I wasn't moving at all. There was no crest, no velocity. There's nothing you can see. So I rolled over my back, I looked up, and I saw the balloon flying into space. I said, "My gosh, that's amazing." And then suddenly I realized that the balloon was sitting still and I was going down at a fantastic rate. And then the small drogue chute came out and I free fell, stabilized from that altitude all the way down to 14,000 feet with my main parachute open. And then it was just a question of getting down to the ground. When I landed, my team was right there immediately. We were just ecstatic because we had accomplished what we set out to do. We had shown that man could go into space and work properly. We showed that we could protect him in a space environment. We showed that we could get a man down from high altitude. So there were a lot of firsts on the program. And as a result of this test, today, some 54 years later, every ejection seat in the world uses a small drogue chute to stabilize the free fall from high altitude. We were breaking barriers. We were setting new goals and exceeding those goals.
Considering all that it took to make my jump possible, I cannot imagine doing this jump 50 years ago, especially not the way that Nick Piantanida did it.
Look to the skies. There's a man attempting the impossible. A leap from the edge of space. He's not an astronaut. He's not a cosmonaut. No, he's amateur adventurer Nick Piantanida.
Nick was this New Jersey truck driver who had decided he wanted to break the world freefall record.
They said it wasn't possible, and so he said, I think it is.
But you had to pull for him. I mean, this guy was the underdog. You know, he was attempting something that was outrageous.
Let's do this. Jet black. I'm sitting looking right out at the blue. This is fantastic.
He didn't have the training he needed. He didn't have the discipline he needed. He didn't have the knowledge he needed.
But he had the balls of an elephant.
We had a malfunction. I'm going over.
What is he doing? He's spinning, isn't he?
Felix has just gone supersonic, but he's lost control. Gosh darn.
One minute, 30 seconds, and stable as a rock. Felix, you calling me? Keep talking, Felix, keep talking. 3 minutes free fall, 3 minutes free fall.
Good evening. I have been following spin for a long time. Sounds like I have a half hour. The laser is smoking up. Oh, indeed, the laser is smoking up.
Felix, you're at the coldest altitude. The further you fall, the warmer it's going to get.
Keep out. I'm pulling my parachute. It was really tough.
Felix, we're so proud of you. You did absolutely fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I couldn't have done any better myself.
Alan, we're in front of the Red Bull Stratus capsule. Do you want to tell me a little bit about why we have this here at the museum?
This capsule set 2 world altitude records, the highest a balloon had ever flown and the highest parachute jump. In October of 2012, Felix Baumgartner jumped with his parachute from this gondola from 128,000 feet, almost 128,000 feet. So world altitude balloon, world altitude parachute.
Now this is a capsule and not a basket like we normally see on hot air balloons. So why do we have a capsule and not like a basket?
Well, the higher you go, the lower the pressure. And when you're in an open basket, obviously you're in that low pressure. To make things a little easier and a little safer, this is a pressurized gondola. So he rides all the way up into the stratosphere pressurized. And it's only when he opens the door and gets out on the front step and jumps that his pressure suit kicks in, and then that's what protects him.
2 years after Felix Baumgartner broke the highest altitude records, another person rose to the occasion. In 2016, Alan Eustace set new world records for the highest free fall jump and total free fall distance. Both Felix Baumgartner and Alan Eustace's teams built on the accomplishments of those before them to take humans further. Felix Baumgartner's team even worked with a man that held the records that Felix would go on to break, Colonel Joe Kittinger.
You know, you learn that, the way that science progresses is a lot of people asking questions over time. I've been reading through my whole life on how various people had set various records in the past. Colonel Joe Kittinger, who set the record in 1960, is kind of a personal hero and idol to me, and learning about how he did it, what the reasons why he did it, then with the Red Bull attempts, and then even going back, before that, some of the Russian attempts.
Instead of a capsule like Felix Baumgartner, Alan Eustace's team developed a specially designed stratosuit so that he could not only survive the high altitude, but the layers of the atmosphere.
Understanding the different layers of the atmosphere and how the atmosphere is built was super critical to understanding how this suit needed to be designed. The stratosphere averages about -70 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's very cold. So you cross through this point that we started calling the human thermal equilibrium zone, where the temperatures are kind of perfect. But then above that, you start getting to the point where it's too hot, where there's no air to pull heat away, and it starts being too warm in a suit. So understanding this, that the temperature kind of goes down and down and down until this point, and then it starts going up, and that the pressure is going down and down and down and down all the way until you get to space where there's no pressure left, is really critical to understanding how you would need to design a suit like this.
Another difference that set Alan Eustace apart from Felix Baumgartner's jump was the use of a drogue chute during the entirety of his descent. A drogue chute is a parachute designed to help stabilize and slow the speed of a rapidly moving object.
We thought the addition of a drogue chute would eliminate spins, and Red Bull and Felix Baumgartner had a horrible spin, but he didn't have a drogue chute. So we add a drogue chute, we put a dummy up, and we think, oh, all's well. And then this dummy spins at 180 revolutions per minute. And it's like, we weren't expecting that. We were expecting it to fall pretty much flat. We could look back at Kittinger's jump. Well, why didn't he spin? Turns out by just moving attachment point of the drogue from down here to up here, we can almost eliminate spins. So it was that easy in hindsight. But at the time, of course, it took a lot of dummies being pushed out of aircraft before we figured out that that was the secret. And of course, we had a lot of help. We were standing on the shoulders of a lot of people that had figured it out before us.